This video is sponsored by the OG anime streaming service Crunchyroll, where right now you can try the premium ad-free version for 2 weeks absolutely free. Just click the link in the description and give it a shot. Vegeta is going to be the hero of the Moro arc. Definitely seems to be possible in the future, but let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 60, which is going to take us in that direction and begins this journey for Vegeta that could culminate in him being the hero of the Moro arc. The big sort of takeaway from this arc is that even though Goku did the absolute best he could, he still wasn't enough for Moro. Moro is dangerous in many different ways, not just his hacks, but also the fact that he is, without question, one of the most intelligent opponents that the Dragon Ball cast has ever faced. Usually what ends up happening in Dragon Ball is you have guys who are just brutes, or you have guys who aren't really methodical thinkers, and usually the villain's ego is what sort of causes them to end up being defeated. And that may still happen with Moro, but based on what we've seen in this arc, Moro is intelligently above many other antagonists in Dragon Ball history. Toyotaro spends a considerable amount of time in this manga chapter, especially in the first half or so, illustrating to us that Moro is indeed the guy who is going to stomp Goku, and he definitely does that. So even though Goku is using Ultra Instinct Omen, which is insanely powerful, it's not enough. And even though Goku has been warned not to do certain things, he still does them. Could it be out of desperation, or could it be out of hubris? Difficult to say, but Moro is right in there with him. And the other story being told is that Vegeta is indeed making his final preparations to come and save the day. Not only has he learned some mystery techniques from the Yard Rats that we still don't know what they are, and we will probably in the future, but he has learned the instantaneous movement, the instant transmission, Shunkan Ito, whatever you want to call it. He has learned this. So now we have not one but two fighters on the good side who know this technique. Vegeta joins the very elite group of people who know this, like Perfect Cell, well, Super Perfect Cell, Majin Buu knows it, Kid Buu, and of course in the movies, Cooler also knows this technique. And I think the reason why Vegeta at the end of the chapter tells Goku that he's not going to use the technique, I don't think that's really something that he's just saying for the sake of saying it, or just to actually say something he actually means. I feel like what's going on there is that Toyotaro had to find a way to get Vegeta into the battle to create the dramatic entrance that Dragon Ball is known for, but he wanted to do it in a way that would be somewhat reminiscent of Goku and reminiscent of what we've seen in the past. So why not use the teleportation move to get Vegeta there instead of us having to wait even further for him to show up? It's just a writing crutch that Toyotaro chose to use. But before that even happens, Goku is about to get stomped out. I mean, he is getting stomped out by Moro, and 17 and 18 get involved and stall for time before Vegeta shows up. That's not what they intended to do, but that's what they do. Now, one thing that absolutely bugged the hell out of me in this manga chapter, which I'm not sure how y'all are gonna see this, but this is how I see it, is that this manga chapter is once again reiterating the fact that now in this current era of Dragon Ball, Gohan and Piccolo are proverbial cheerleaders for Goku. It's really annoying. At least in Resurrection F and the Tournament of Power, they did stuff. Gohan and Piccolo aren't even willing to jump into the fight to help Goku. It has to be 17 and 18. They want to stand back because they know that Moro will take their power. Yes, I know that, but it just feels to me that Gohan and Piccolo have taken such a backseat to everybody else. And even though it does make logical sense the way Toyotaro wrote it, because the android's power cannot be absorbed by Moro in the same way that other characters can, it just kind of feels weird that Gohan isn't even trying. At least Gohan, I feel, deserves better. Again, that's my opinion. I understand it makes logical sense to do this. It just kind of reiterates the fact that that's what Gohan and Piccolo have become. And I kind of wish that they would volunteer to train with Mirrors and things of that nature. And speaking of Mirrors, we find out in this manga chapter that Mirrors is very much having a connection to Goku and the planet Earth. He seems to have concern, whereas Whis is reiterating time and time again that the deity should not get involved in these matters. But that's, again, very hypocritical, because we've seen Whis get involved directly, specifically in Resurrection F, when he stated that he well, not stated, he had literally reversed time to save the Earth because of his friendship with Goku and the rest of the gang, but also because he and Beerus wanted the delicious food from Earth. And did they suddenly not care about the food anymore? This was very out of character in a way, because even though Whis is right that the gods should not get involved, he himself has broken that rule. So I wonder if he kind of knows that Beerus will break that rule too. I couldn't tell you, but Beerus seems to have a connection, that's the point I'm trying to make, with Goku and the rest of the group, and I wonder if that's going to lead to a storyline later on, because we still don't really know the origins of Beerus. We don't know which universe he comes from. There's a lot of mysteries here behind this character, even though we know he's an angel. Where is he from? What is his job? Are there other angels that aren't tied to Gods of Destruction? Does the Daishinkan have more children out there that we don't know about? Again, something to think about for the future, so don't forget that. But even though all those things make sense, the big story here is Vegeta. Vegeta's role. Is Vegeta going to be the hero? Well, there is an extreme amount of role reversal here, and this is something that I've been discussing for months now because it's been teased by Toyotaro and now has effectively been executed by Toyotaro. Because remember, all throughout Dragon Ball Z, really, it was all over the series, Vegeta was the stubborn one that tried to take on the villain, didn't really listen, and wound up getting beat up. And of course, the choices that Vegeta made in Z were way, way worse than anything Goku's done in this arc. The consequences for Vegeta's actions were far worse in Z. You know, allowing Cell to become perfect is one. Also, helping directly or indirectly, however you want to think about it, in the hatching of Majin Buu. There are things Vegeta has done that are truly reckless, but here what we have is we have a situation where Vegeta is actually the one who took his time training, took his time learning all these new moves from the Yard Rats, and is now coming to save Goku, who was a little bit reckless, but not as much as Vegeta was. But it's still interesting that Vegeta gets the hero's entrance here. So is Toyotaro listening to the fans and giving Vegeta the victory at the end of the day? Or will there be more shenanigans? Don't forget that we have 7-3 out there. Goku's still around. You know, Majin Buu might come back. There's still different variables and different possibilities going forward about how this arc's going to end. Or maybe the arc isn't even going to end soon. I mean, this could go 100 different ways. But right now, it appears like Vegeta is positioned to be the hero. And one could say that it's predictable, but there's nothing wrong with a predictable story if it makes sense. If it actually has the hero's journey, it makes sense. And in this case, it's Vegeta deciding that even though Goku knows Ultra Instinct and that's the ultimate power, you know, there are other methods of becoming a better fighter. I outlined this in detail in a previous video I did about Vegeta, which I will link at the end of this video, that y'all have to watch because this is actually pretty dense storytelling. And I gotta give Toyotaro credit for it in that it's a good little role reversal. Do I wish that Dragon Ball was a little bit more than just a Goku and Vegeta show? I do. I really wish it was. But at the same time, this is good. I think it's good. I think it's good that he's doing this with Vegeta's character. Vegeta, however, still kind of retains that bravado. He still retains that cockiness as he enters the battlefield, threatening Moro, saying that he is stronger than him, even though he uses Super Saiyan Blue, the same one from the TOP, and Goku and Piccolo don't notice a difference. Obviously, he knows something. Vegeta's got a big secret, and we're going to find out what happens next month. This review was a little bit different than the previous ones because I did do a couple days ago a full manga summary, like from Dragon Ball Hype, so that's kind of the situation of events that happen in order. So I chose with the review to just focus on the execution and how I felt reading it and sort of outline the important points of this manga chapter. So that's why I organized and structured it sort of like this. A little bit different style of review for this month. But I think the most interesting part about this is the fact that this manga chapter validated the fact that I and Oppai Senpai and others were absolutely correct in the direction they were going with this arc, because Vegeta himself says that he no longer wants to even learn Ultra Instinct, that it failed, and that he has a technique that will surpass it. Now, he says technique, not transformation, which is the whole purpose of this arc, is for these guys to learn more techniques and not just rely on forms. Different ways to beat opponents that have hacks like Moro. So to me, I absolutely love the fact that Vegeta says that he may have surpassed Ultra Instinct with a technique, not a transformation. And it's working. It works for me. It really does work for me. It's the most interesting thing about this chapter, and I really want to see what Vegeta's move is actually going to be when he does it on Moro. Overall, though, having Goku lose to Moro, I think works. I did like this manga chapter. It wasn't as good as the one a couple of months earlier, but it was more of a setup chapter because this chapter was like the transition. It was Goku out, Vegeta in, and now we'll see what happens. He made the hot tag, like in pro wrestling, and here comes Vegeta to save the day. Maybe. That remains to be seen. Anyways, please leave your comments. Let me know what you think about this Vegeta situation. I'm going to make another video very soon covering my predictions on that fight with Moro and how I think it's going to go. Please let me know how you think it's going to go in the comments and how you enjoyed this manga chapter overall. I'd like to hear from all of you. Thank you again. Hope you have a great day. And check out these videos if you haven't.